What's up, people? Welcome back. How are you? I'm doing just fine, thank you. Thank you for asking. Just want to give a big thank you to all of you for the consistent support on this channel. The videos that I put out, it really means a lot that you guys find value in some of the stuff that I'm putting out. And yeah, it's definitely a scary thing putting out these videos sometimes, putting your face on a video, just posting on YouTube, or just being vulnerable in general. Really, it's a scary thing. And I think dating back to maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago or so when I was a music producer, I think part of the reason I failed, and I say failed because I did, I was afraid to put my music out there. I was afraid to put myself out there. I was afraid of judgment. I was afraid of what people would think. And I think that was at a time where I was pretty immature, not as mature as I am now. I think part of the reason why a lot of you find this channel to be, beneficial to you, or you enjoy watching it, is because I've overcome the fear of judgment, and I've just kind of become myself. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for continually helping and supporting this channel. It really means a lot. It really does. The reason why I brought up that little reference about me being a music producer is because it kind of directly relates to the topic of today's video, and that's how I became a full-time freelance DP. So this video isn't going to be much of a backstory type of video. If you want to hear more about my backstory and my full journey, I have a video that I posted maybe a year ago or so about my journey as a cinematographer. I will link that in the description. If you want to check that out, I definitely recommend to hear more about my journey. But today's video is going to be more about the present and how I've sustained a career as a full-time freelance DP. In July 2021, I decided to make the move to Philadelphia. And prior to moving, I lived with my mom in New Jersey. So as you could tell, it probably wasn't the biggest move that someone could make, but it was definitely a move. At the time of moving to Philly, I wasn't really recognized as a DP in Philadelphia or anywhere in general, really. At this time, I was still making YouTube videos at this time. Like, I was pretty active on YouTube. I was working really hard trying to be a cinematographer. I was practicing lighting, camera stuff, compositions, movement. I was really working very hard to being a cinematographer, but at this particular moment in time when I moved, I wasn't really recognized as one. Every so often I would get a job as a DP, which was an amazing opportunity, but majority of the time, the jobs that I consisted of doing related to my production company at the time, doing kind of one-off small marketing videos. I would be a PA on sets, I would be a grip on sets. I would do anything to help me kind of just sustain my lifestyle, pay my bills, because DPing wasn't doing that at the time. I knew that coming to a new city, especially Philly, where there's a decent film scene and there's a ton of DPs here, I knew that I wasn't going to immediately be welcomed with open arms in the city without trying to prove myself. So some of you may be wondering why I decided to move to Philly, take that risk. And the reason is because I had a long conversation with myself multiple times, looked at myself in the mirror, and I knew that I had what it took to be a successful DP. I felt in myself deeply that I knew I had what it took. I had the skills. I knew I had the capabilities of working hard, even if I didn't have the skills, of working hard to achieve those skills. I knew I had the personality. I knew that I had the kindness, and I knew I had the leadership qualities that would eventually be built up to even better leadership qualities. I knew that I had all these things, and I don't say this as a conceited thing, but I felt it. I really did. I felt it deep inside me. Because being in an uncomfortable situation for me provides comfort sometimes in knowing that I need to work super hard. I need to work 10 times harder than I did before because I need to pay my bills. I have rent. Again, all these things. I've talked about this in a video before, but this is a big reason why I think I have become a DP, is because I put myself in an uncomfortable situation by moving out and by forcing myself to work extremely hard to achieve the dream that I wanted to. So moving to Philly wasn't just an off-the-cuff decision. I'm a very organized person. I think a lot about my decisions before I do them. Prior to moving to Philly, about 3 months or so after I made the decision that I was actually going to move here, I made calls, emails to every producer, director, production company in Philly, asking for a coffee meeting, asking for lunch. Just, can I take you out for a half hour? And a lot of people said no. A lot of people didn't answer, but I got a few yeses, and over the next 3 months, I would travel back from New Jersey to Philly for 30 minutes for a coffee meeting. And those meetings allowed me the opportunity to meet people in the city before moving here. And it also got my foot in the door a little bit more so that when I did move here, I wasn't just empty-handed. I had some connections that I could work through as I moved here, and I wasn't left just empty. When reaching out to these production companies, I stated that I was a DP, and I said that I am a new DP coming into Philly. I'd love to work with you. Can I take you out for lunch and just whatever? You get the gist of it. But at this time, I was telling people I was a DP, and I think that's something too to note is if you want to be a DP, sometimes it's important to just say you're a DP. And when you say that you're a DP, you have this kind of mental shift like, oh, I need to do everything in my power to actually be a DP. And I think that's something that I realized was I didn't really climb the ladder traditionally like most people do. Of course, I gripped every so often. Maybe I AC'd once or twice here or there, but I PA'd for like a year with Danny prior, and that also helped me establish some relationships in Philly. But I knew immediately that I wanted to be a DP. I had no real aspirations to gaff, to grip, to AC, but I did those things on the side to help me pay the bills and also learn a lot and meet new people. But I knew I wanted to be a DP, so I always told people I'm a DP. By me saying I'm a DP, what helped me back that up was my reel. And even though my reel consisted of majority passion projects and maybe a few small client things, I had enough work to create a 1-minute reel, which showed what I'm capable of when it's just natural lighting, or if I have to augment lighting, or if I have to do full lighting setups. I was able to show all of that inside my reel, and that's what helped me back up my talk saying I'm a DP when I'm going into these meetings with producers and directors. Don't be afraid to network with people. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. Why do we fear reaching out to people? And I think it is the fear of rejection, the fear of failure. But if you think about it, before you asked that person for a coffee meeting, your life was like this. You asked them, they said no. Your life is exactly the same as before you asked, so nothing really changes except for the fact that you got a no. And how do you deal with that no? Do you shrivel up and cry? Or do you go out and ask 10 more people for a coffee meeting because you know that one of them will say yes? The key is just determination. Don't be afraid to get the no's, because when you get those no's, how can you deal with them? How can you prove yourself in the next year to that person that said no is now interested in working with you? And that's okay. That's happened to me plenty of times. When I moved here, the people that said no to me or didn't even answer me are now interested in working with me because I never gave up. I proved myself in this Philly industry, this market. I've improved my skills. I improved my leadership abilities. I've done everything I could to be a better DP so that people would recognize me. And if I just took those no's to heart and I just gave up because I wasn't good enough, I would not be in this position right now. If you guys can take a second, think about what I just said in the last couple minutes. What is one word that summarizes this entire segment? I'll give you a hint. Actually, no, I'm just going to tell you. Relationships. The reason I became a full-time freelance DP is only because of relationships. That is the reason. You could have all of the skill in the world. You could be the best lighting DP. You could be the best DP with the most extravagant camera movements. But if you are not a kind person, if you are not a generous person, if you're not a respectful person, if you don't know how to keep relationships, you will never get hired as a DP. There's a saying in film that I'd rather work with someone who is decent at their job but is an amazing person to be around, rather than someone that is the best at their job but I can't stand to be around them. Be the person that people want to be around. Even if your skills are average now, that's where the hard work comes in. You can always improve your skills, but if you don't have the innate ability to be a kind person, if you don't have the ability to work at being a kind person, being a generous person, being a good leader, being someone that's honest, you're never going to make it as a DP. You're never going to make it in film or any career because people don't want to be around you. Relationships are the key to success in this entire industry. As important as relationships are in the beginning as a DP, when you're trying to build relationships with producers and directors, and you're trying to get your name out there, building relationships is equally as important when you're already an established DP. And I find that majority of the jobs that I get, even to this day, are strictly because of the relationships I've built with producers and directors and even other DPs. Before we move on to how I build relationships with DPs and what the benefits are when networking with other DPs, and even though you're in competition with them, you're also friends with them. Before I talk about that, I want to talk a little bit about how I built relationships as a PA, and how some of you, as you're growing as a DP, can also build relationships as a PA or an AC or as a grip. You ever hear the saying, first impressions are everything? I find that to be extremely true, especially in the film industry. When I was a PA and I was working on sets, sweeping floors, grabbing waters and coffees for people, there's a level of humbleness that you have to feel to be able to do that job. You can't have an ego doing a PA job because you're going to easily be seen as someone that's kind of bitter or upset that you're doing this type of job. But if you're humble, you recognize the scenario that you're in. You recognize that you're just on set, being able to be around this environment. You can get a sense of gratitude and feel grateful for just doing it. And I recognized that early on in my career as a PA, and I realized that if I wasn't PAing, I wouldn't even be on this set right now. I wouldn't even be able to see how this DP works. I wouldn't even be able to build a relationship with this producer. And all those things hit me at once. And every time I was a PA on set, no matter what job it was, how big or how small it was, I gave my 110% effort every time. I showed up on time, early. Every time I made sure that I had a positive attitude. I made sure that I was kind. I made sure I was respectful. I made sure that I helped anyone that needed help at any particular moment. I never left early. I was always one of the last ones to leave to make sure everyone needed help. Everyone needed help packing. I did whatever it took for people to recognize that I was someone that they wanted to call back and they wanted to be friends with, that they wanted to be around on set. That was my goal, is to be the person that people want to call back because they had such a good time with. That is such an important thing that I think people forget as a PA. I know PAing isn't the most glamorous job, but the more you do it, the more you get on set, especially in the beginning when you're learning and you're trying to become a DP, the more you get to experience life on set. That is valuable as a DP because you have to have an understanding of all facets of the set. You have to understand what each department does. You have to understand the roles. You have to understand communication. So as a PA with not much pressure on set, utilize those opportunities to learn. As I mentioned earlier about not leaving set early and making sure everyone is wrapped before we leave, I'm the same way now, even as a DP, no matter the project, how big it is or how small it is. And I know that a lot of times when you're on a big commercial, DPs, they bounce between projects. So as soon as they're done, they have to go on a flight somewhere else. And I totally understand that. And I've also had to do that as well. But for a lot of the projects where I don't need to leave immediately, I never do. I always make sure that I'm one of the last ones to leave as well. I never leave before my crew's done wrapping up. I make sure that I can offer a helping hand. And sometimes I can't offer a helping hand because some of the grip trucks, they have a specific way to do it. The grips and gaffers, they know exactly what they're doing. So it's just my presence being there, being able to offer a helping hand when is needed, shows the crew that you are a leader, shows that you can be trusted by them. Again, like I said before, a lot of the jobs that I get today really are solely built on relationships and the people that I've worked with in getting me these jobs. Because again, DPs, you're in the same market, you're kind of in competition with each other, which is interesting because you want this job, but that person also wants this job, but you want to see your friend succeed, they want to see you succeed. So it's kind of this weird mess that you have to balance. And I found that instead of being this kind of bitter person that is like, I should have gotten that job over them, I'm happy for them. And the reason I want to show appreciation to other DPs or just be kind to other DPs is because they can get booked for a job on Monday and then another job comes around for Monday and they can't take it because they can't do two jobs, but you want to be the person that they recommend. And even though some people might say, oh, well, you were the second choice type of thing. Well, who cares if you're the second choice? Prove yourself. Prove yourself next time so you can be the first choice. For me, it's all about keep proving yourself no matter what level you're at. Every day, think about it like it's your last day on set. Think about it like it's your first day on set. Prove yourself every time. And I think for me, that's what helped me build up my career so much, is just that every time I'm on set, I'm like, well, this might be my last time, so I got to do everything I can to make it the best that I absolutely can. And the same goes for me. When I'm booked for a job, and if I get another one that same day, I'm going to recommend it to a DP that I like, that I trust, that's a friend of mine. So everything goes full circle. But if you can understand the foundation of relationships, you will succeed tremendously in this industry, because your skills can always improve with practice. Your skills can always improve with courses and time. But if you don't have the ability to make friendships or be a kind person, your skills are going to get you nowhere in this industry. So that's all I got for you today. Hopefully you found this to be maybe eye-opening a little bit. Maybe, I don't know if I was a little aggressive in this video. I'm not sure, but I felt pretty passionate about talking about this because I am. I think relationships are the most important part of filmmaking. So thank you guys, as always, for watching my videos. If you're here to the end, hit subscribe, like, comment, let me know what you think, share with a friend if you found this to be valuable and you think they could find it valuable. But until next time, have a great day, everyone. Peace out. See you later.